my client Sarah. Sarah's been working with me for 16 months now. She's done 12 months in-person coaching or 13 months in-person coaching and the last 3 months remote coaching. So Sarah, thank you for taking the time today to jump on the call.
Sure.
That's great. So first question, Sarah, what was your biggest frustration before you started working with me with your training?
Well, I guess, getting into my late 40s, it was just all sorts of little niggling things, twinges and things that hurt that never hurt before, and sort of a few more injuries happening with the other sorts of activities that I was doing, mainly dancing.
Mm-hmm. And what sort of injuries were you getting?
Oh, I had issues with sort of pain in my one or both hips. I had a shoulder injury from doing a class at another gym that wasn't sort of properly supervised. Issues with my knees occasionally, lower back. So, a fair bit of variety here and there.
Okay. And you were talking about you're doing dancing before. I know you're still doing dancing or up until the current scenario, but what other programs had you tried before we started working together?
Look, I hadn't tried a lot of structured exercise certainly not gym-based exercise programs like this for a really long time. So I guess in addition to dancing, what I had been doing very intermittently was other, I guess, group training classes like circuit classes at another gym that sometimes had as many as, 20 people in them at a time.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. And since you started working together, what would you say is your favorite result you've experienced so far?
I guess I was thinking about this. There's really two things. I mean, one, I definitely have a lot fewer of those little niggly things going on from just overall, I think, being stronger. But actually, the other thing that has been the best result is that I actually do get myself training 3 times a week. And that for me is quite a huge change.
Yeah, so you're more consistent every week. You're doing your 3 sessions regardless of how you feel.
Yep, pretty much.
Great. Okay, cool. Um, did you have any fears or apprehensions before we started working together?
There's a couple of things. I mean, one related to what I was just saying. I really wasn't sure if I was going to find it incredibly boring and not do it, not stick to it. So that was the first one. And then I guess the other thing is I've learned now is that the kind of relationship or rapport that you have with a trainer is really important. So the style of training and the kind of style of communication and support from the trainer is really important. So I guess I was apprehensive as to whether or not, that would work out as well.
Yeah, definitely. And how would you say this program is different to what you've done in the past?
Was the first time that I'd ever really taken the plunge and signed up for quite personalised coaching. So I took a bit of a leap of faith and decided to put in a lot more financial contribution to it than I've ever done before. And I guess the payoff from that is that it's the first time I have actually really had that personalised programming and really sort of direct feedback, both technical feedback on, the technique in a particular exercise, but also more generally the feedback to support and encourage and keep persevering and a sense of progress, which, I haven't had that before and I haven't, had that personalized support before.
Yeah. And you were saying about, staying consistent with your three average. What would you say is the main thing that you kind of learned in order to kind of maintain that consistency?
I guess a couple of things. I mean, the first thing is that I have realized the satisfaction that comes from consistently training and eventually seeing results, really realizing that consistency is what delivers, even if it's not overnight. And so that's definitely been something that I have learned. And I guess related to that is just realizing how good that feels, but to be patient about it. Yeah. And actually, I always feel better after I train, without exception. Even if it's been a hard one to get to, hard to get out of bed that day, it's always better afterwards.
Yeah, that's great. So let's say someone is watching this video, they're in the position you were in like a year and a half ago and was constantly picking up niggles and maybe frustrated with moving forwards with training. What advice would you give them if they wanted to get start training now?
I guess I'd probably say there's no time like the present. So absolutely don't waste any time, because the sooner you start, the sooner things will improve. And the other thing I would say is, really do find the right trainer and someone that you can be, someone you trust and someone who you are confident that they know what they're talking about, but also that that you can be open with them about, how you're feeling and what's bothering you and what your goals are. I think that's definitely something that's been great about approach, Connor, has been, making it very comfortable to be able to say, I'm in my late 40s, I'm not going to be a supermodel or an athlete, or a professional dancer, but that doesn't in any way mean that the training isn't important, or that your programming isn't important, or that the work isn't important. And I think finding a trainer where you can have that kind of relationship is really worth doing.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And I think it's important to just meet people where they're at. I think a lot of times people are being pushed to do something that's not even the person's goal. So that's a really good point that you're after making there.
I think an experienced trainer, it's really important to trust them and feel like they know what they're doing and that they're actually listening to you. And that's definitely something that you do. So, really not feeling like you're just getting a cookie cutter program, which, I've done a couple of gym programs in the past where it really has felt like the PT at the gym is just kind of spat out a fairly standard program with fairly standard exercises. And, probably if you ask someone else in the gym, they had the same program. And that's not what a personalized program is really all about.
Yeah, definitely. So next question, Sarah. What is something that you can do now that you weren't able to do before you started?
Handstands, good handstands, definitely. I can be in a GMB class with 4 other people and win the wall sit competition, sitting for 2.5 minutes.
That's great.
That was pretty fun and satisfying. Yeah, so they're probably 2 really tangible things. But I guess also what I can do that I couldn't do before is a whole range of strength exercises that are just gradually progressing.
Yeah, fantastic. So how would those close to you describe the differences they've seen in you over the last 16 months?
Well, I think probably like the people closest to me would mostly come on and comment on the fact that I get up and go to the gym 3 times a week. Well, I get up and train in my living room 3 times a week now, but I mean, that would be a really marked difference that people would see.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And what has surprised you the most since you started?
I mean, definitely I'm most surprised by how much I'm enjoying this, really. I have often thought that training at the gym was pretty boring when I've periodically tried in the past, but actually I'm really enjoying it. And I think the fact that so far I'm still training 3 times a week by myself at home, not at the gym, with you or with other people I know at the gym, I think that is testament to that. And I genuinely enjoy it and get satisfaction out of it now.
Yeah, so that's a huge point that you're after making there. And let's just say, because that's probably one of the biggest challenges people have is getting bored, getting fed up and quitting. So what kind of advice could you give to someone, again, in a similar position to where you were, to learn how to maybe develop a habit or to get more enjoyment from their program and turn it into something more sustainable for their lifestyle?
Yeah. It's certainly been really, really important for me to have a program that is refreshed every month. So there is a bit of change over time, a bit of variety, and that also contributes to, a feedback loop that you're making progress.
Yeah.
And having the accountability structures in place so that someone will notice if you're not doing it, whether it's the trainer, ideally, obviously it's the trainer, or someone else that, can be your accountability. Obviously, at the moment, while we're all housebound, it's not someone you train with, but it doesn't mean you can't set that up with someone remotely, in the interim. So, a combination of those things, I think. And I guess also the third thing is having realistic goals, but having explicit goals. So whether that's wanting to master something in a certain time or something like that, I think that's really helpful too, and acknowledging it when you reach your goals.
Yeah, all right. That's really, really good advice. So first thing, monthly program or a program that changes, every month, every 6 weeks. Second thing you said is accountability. Third thing you said was having
achievable goals.
And what was the
and
fourth
achievable goals and celebrating them when you get there.
Yeah. Okay, that's amazing advice. That's basically the key right there. And last question, what were your goals when you started and what are your goals today?
Well, like I said, really my goal was just to feel a bit better and have fewer niggling injuries and twinges when I was doing other things. Really I was seeing the training at the gym as something to enable the other activities that I like doing, like dancing. What's changed, that's still absolutely the case, but what has changed is that I'm now really feeling like having goals in the gym as well. And it's great having a trainer who kind of keeps drawing me into having those goals. So, the chin up by the time I turn 50 is a pretty good goal at the moment, I think.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, that's what you're saying you're working towards now is the strict chin up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. So, Sarah, thank you so much for your time. Lots of really, really positive nuggets there. And I think that's really actionable stuff that people can apply as well. So, yeah, I just really appreciate you getting on the call today.
No worries, Connor.